nothing. Yeah, if it ain't love, it ain't nothing.
Peace and power to the true and living. What's good, family? This is CBornNacirfaSun, and I am you. Yo, I'm excited to be coming back at you with yet another powerful video. This is Reflections of a Higher Consciousness. Man, I can't believe it. I think I went and caught the Holy Ghost, as they say in church, because we are about to dive deep again, family. And plus, it's my birthday, so I figure it's only right that we dive deep into some stuff. I'm recording this on my birthday. I don't know whether I'll be able to publish it on my birthday, but just know that it's my birthday as I'm recording this. So if you're watching this and it's after this day, you can wish me a happy belated birthday. And as long as it's sincere, you know what I'm saying, I'll feel the energy as long as it is sincere. But anyways, let's go ahead and get into this. Um, because I've talked so much about gender confusion, homosexuality, and things of that nature, and if you haven't seen the videos, I've done a three-part series on gender confusion, and I've talked more about it in videos after that. So I strongly suggest you dive into that because this will help you with a lot of what we're talking about in today's video because it builds upon each other, you know. But because I've talked so much about this, I wanted to take some time to take an intimate dive into this, because I'm really coming from a sincere place. I'm not coming from a place of animosity or trying to make anybody feel bad or anything like that. I'm just shining some true light on this because it's very important that we're able to have these conversations. With everything that is going on, it's very important that we're able to be open, honest, sincere, and allow ourselves to be vulnerable because that's the only way we will come to learn everything that we need to learn, you know, because these days it's hard to have these conversations with all these labels, homophobic, transphobic, uh, racist, all the isms and phobias and whatever they can throw at you. And it makes it very hard to have these very necessary and important conversations because after all, how are we going to learn? How are we going to even be able to understand and get along with each other if we can't even talk about the very things that are causing all the conflicts amongst us, you know? But anyways, man, so just know that I'm coming from a sincere place. So in this video, which I titled Real Talk, because like I said, we're taking a deep and intimate dive into this. So in this video, we're going to be talking about, we're going to shine some light on reincarnation because it's going to be important to understand reincarnation in order to understand some of what we're going to be talking about. And then we're going to talk about some hard truth. You know what I mean? It is what it is. And when it comes to the current human condition, it is nothing but hard truth. If we really get down to it, if we're honest enough, you know, the truth speaks against us. The truth is very brutal against us because we've fallen so low. Human beings have fallen so low. So it's going to be some hard truth. And then we're going to talk about some spiritual benefits. You know what I mean? I bet you didn't know that was in there. The spiritual benefits. And then we're going to talk about some of the problems. And I'm going to make some connections. So, like I said, we're going to be diving deep into this, man. And as always, I encourage you to stay with me to the end because it's going to be worth your while. You're going to learn some new things here. You know what I mean? But as always, dive into the Grail message because what I'm giving you here, even though we're going to be going deep, it doesn't compare to what you're going to learn by taking this spiritual experience, this personal experience, with the Grail message. So go ahead and do that. Now, since we are going to be talking about some hard truth, I am going to be sharing some hard truth. I want to say that this does not make me perfect. When I say these things, I don't exclude myself. So you things, lying, stealing, cheating, um, drugs, alcohol, lust. I mean, I'm guilty of all of that. I've done a lot of things in my life that I'm not proud of. I've done a lot of things in my life that I'm very ashamed of, you know? So I'm not sitting here as some kind of a perfect person pretending to be some kind of a, you know, judge or something like that. I'm no, that's not me. You know, I'm in the midst of all this. I'm not outside of this, you know. So let's understand that. And as I mentioned, if we are open and honest and allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we will come to learn everything that we need to learn so we can evolve out of many of these issues that's holding us back, that's holding us down. If we're willing to do that, you know. But these days there's a very strong push in our society to, limit conversation, to shut down honest speech. All this political correctness, all this political correctness nonsense. It's ridiculous because we're not going to learn anything by, just remaining silent about everything and just accepting and believing everything that we're told. I mean, come on, man, it's ridiculous. You know, um, I'm not one of those people who's like, oh, you're gay, you're trans, you're this, you're that, you're going to hell, you're gonna burn in hell because you're gay, you're trans. I'm not one of those people. My whole thing is we have to understand spiritual truth and we have to understand how creation works. Let's get the knowledge of creation. Let's understand that so we can know what we're dealing with instead of, making all these pronouncements, you know, instead of all the harsh criticism and judgment. Because none of us are in a place to judge, you know. Um, so let's talk about reincarnation before we dive into some of the hard truth about transgenderism, gender confusion, homosexuality, and things like that. Let's talk about reincarnation. And Jesus talked about reincarnation. I believe it's Matthew 17:10, where he talked about reincarnation. This is where we learn that John the Baptist was once Elijah. So Jesus talked about reincarnation, but for some reason, I mean, I've come across so many Christians who don't believe in reincarnation. I'm like, it talks. Mentions reincarnation in the Bible, but of course, within the Christian religion, they don't really expand upon that, and that's why there are so many mysteries about life, about creation, about the human existence, about the human phenomenon. Because, I mean, we pretty much deny reincarnation, or we don't understand reincarnation. I believe it's in Hinduism where you hear things like your loved ones reincarnate as the cows or reincarnate as animals and various things like that. No, that's not how reincarnation works. The human spirit, the human being, can only and always will be a human being and nothing else. So a human being would never incarnate as an animal, because we are spiritual creatures. Human beings are spiritual creatures. So animals are animistic. They have a soul, but they don't have a spirit. We have that. So that there's a wide gulf between the animal and the human spirit. So we can never incarnate, as animals. Now it's possible where, our loved ones in the ethereal world can influence some animals to do certain things. Some animals that are close to us, or that may be near our surroundings and things like that. It's possible that our loved ones can influence those animals to do certain things. If they want to send messages to us, or whatever, or communicate with us, it's possible they can do that. But it doesn't mean that they incarnate as the animal. That's not possible, and it doesn't make sense. Why would the human spirit need to incarnate as an animal? What are you going to gain from that experience as a spiritual being? You know, um, another thing to understand about reincarnation is this: human life started on this planet about approximately 3 million years ago. And the Luciferian deception, the fall of man, began about approximately 1 million years ago. So we have been coming back and forth to this planet for a very long time. You know, for lack of better words, we've been coming back and forth to this planet for a very long time. The average human being has had anywhere from 200 to 500 incarnations. If you multiply that by the number of years lived in each incarnation, the average person has lived anywhere from 20,000 to 50,000 years. You know? And I'm just throwing numbers out there to kind of give you an idea. I'm not saying this is precise and concrete, you know, just to give you an idea. The average person has lived anywhere from 20,000 to 50,000 years on this planet, you know. But we have been going back and forth through this cycle of reincarnation from the planet Earth to the ethereal world, back to the planet Earth to the ethereal world. And the ethereal world is also a part of the material part of creation, just like the planet Earth is. Except that the ethereal world is less dense. You know, it's not as coarse as the planet. You know, it's a much finer plane of existence. But when we die here on this planet Earth, that's where we go, to the ethereal world. So we've been in this cycle of reincarnation for a very long time. You know? So once again, the average human being has lived on this planet anywhere from 20,000 to 50,000 years. And of course, not simultaneously, because when you die here and go into the ethereal world, we have to stay there for a certain amount of time before we're able to reincarnate back on the planet Earth. But this is what has been happening for a very long time, you know, and we don't remember this. Our memories, you know, when we're living these earth lives, our memories are wiped. When we're living these earth lives, our memories are wiped, because the whole point of this being able to reincarnate is having a clean slate to you know, live a new life where you will be given the opportunity to correct past mistakes and fix past karmas and so forth. But if our memories are not wiped, we won't live a new life. We will keep revisiting the old life. You know, so the wisdom of the Creator, you know, does not allow us to keep our memories of past existences while we're living the current earth life. You know, but there will be times after we die and leave this earth, there will be times where we're able to recall, you know, certain experiences from previous lives. You know, so reincarnation happens, is real. It's just that we have not really gained the value from this knowledge because we don't really understand it. It's why you got to experience the Grail message. You know. Now, let's dive into some of these hard truths. Excuse me. My throat be getting dry. The hard truth. Once again, this is not coming from a place of animosity, hatred, racism, transphobia, none of that nonsense. All right? Let's grow up. Let's be mature. We are falling into a very deep hole. We're not going to be able to climb out of that hole if we can't discuss the fact, you know, why we're even in that hole in the first place. You know what I mean? So let's talk about some of these hard truths. Homosexuality, transgenderism, gender confusion, it's not natural. It's not upbuilding. It does not fit into the mechanism of creation. You know? And I know that's very hard to accept. It's very hard to accept because this spiritual distortion has been happening for a very long time. So it's hard to accept these things. I understand that, but it's not natural. It's not upbuilding, and it does not fit into the mechanism of creation. So let's take this example. Let me give you the battery example. Let's dive a little deeper into what I mean by this is not natural, it's not upbuilding, and does not fit into the mechanism of creation. So when you look at a battery, you see that a battery has two parts, the positive pole and the negative pole, right? Together they make a whole, they make one whole battery. And you cannot have one whole battery if one is missing. So two negative poles are not going to give you a battery, a whole battery. They still just give you one part of the battery. Two positive poles are not going to give you a whole battery. They still just give you one part of the battery. You know, so in order to have the whole battery, that it requires the positive and the negative working together in harmonious cooperation. And you see, you can't even fuse the two because if you notice, they're both on opposite ends. They're not fused together. They're both on opposite ends and they work harmoniously to give you this one whole that is known as the battery, right? So this is how the battery functions. This is how the battery gets its power, right? And the battery cannot be a battery without both parts. So this little battery, right? This is how the whole entire creation is. This is how the whole entire creation operates, right? And if you look through our creation, you look through our nature, you will see, just many copies of the greater things. Just like human beings, we're copies of greater spiritual beings, So you see many splitting off and many copies and so forth when you look in nature, when you look through our creation, But the way the battery functions, right? That's how the whole entire creation functions. That's how life functions, through the harmonious cooperation of positive and negative pole, through feminine and masculine energies. The negative is the feminine, the negative pole is the feminine, and the positive pole is the masculine. So that right there, that battery right there is the picture of the whole entire creation. And let's take it further. When you look at machinery, when you look at all the things, because one thing we have to understand here is that, this feminine and masculine, genders, male, female, these things are laws, in creation. They're not just, they go beyond the manifestations, the physical manifestations that we see, So in the case of, the things that we create, the things that we make, for example, take a heavy machinery like a forklift or bulldozer, When you look at something like that, on the outer part of it, the outer shell of it, you see the masculine part, the big, strong masculine part, the bulldozer, that smashes things down, or the forklift that is able to lift thousands or hundreds of pounds, So on the outer shell, you see the masculine. You see the working of the masculine. When you dive into that machine, you're going to see a bunch of smaller parts, smaller but very essential and powerful parts, very delicate, very essential, you know, and you're gonna see parts that don't operate like the outer shell operates. It doesn't, it's not lifting the heavy weight. It's not, busting things down and so forth. It's not requiring that masculine strength. Those smaller essential parts work in a different way, but we know that they are pretty much the foundation of that heavy machinery. So even, and this applies to everything that we create. So even with something like that, we see the harmonious cooperation of feminine and masculine. We see feminine and masculine working together. You know, this is so natural that it just happens with everything that we make. You know, it's so natural that it just happens. Once again, when you look at this machine example that I just gave you, you know, how did we know to do that? How do we know to put the masculine stronger part on the outside, and then the feminine more essential and delicate part, the more foundational part on the inside? How do we know that? That's a working of the law. That's a recognition of the law that rests in creation. And we know that this machinery, these things that we make, we will not be able to make it if we don't recognize and respect these laws and put them to use. So once again, this stuff is so natural that it just happens. There's no other way. Otherwise, we will not be able to create anything if we don't respect, the workings of the masculine and the feminine. And we see it happening in creation. We're reproducing it in our works. So why is it then, when it comes to our personal lives, when it comes to our decision making, we don't respect this law? We want to grossly violate it. We want to hopefully somehow to change it, when we don't see it change in nowhere else in creation, in nature. I mean, think about this. So why do we expect, these laws to be any different when it comes to the human being? We are just a product of this creation. We are products of this law. Excuse my dry throat. It's going to be happening. But it's a passion, I tell you. It's the passion. So once again, think about this. And I hope you understand what I'm saying here. I hope this is making sense to you, because it's making a lot of damn sense to me. But it should be making a lot of sense to you, because this is just natural common sense. You don't need science to tell you this. You don't need a doctor to tell you this. And anybody who says this is wrong, they're bullshitting. Because this is just natural. So natural that it just happens. It's just that for some reason, human beings have become so damn illogical and just plain stupid, let's just call it what it is, that we want to violate these laws when it comes to our personal lives and decision making. And it doesn't make sense. What else? So when we look at this whole thing with homosexuality and transgenderism and gender confusion and so forth, we just have to be honest and admit and call it what it is. It's not natural, it's not upbuilding, and it does not fit into the mechanism of creation. That's why it comes with so many issues. So many issues arise out of this naturally. But of course, they don't put that on the forefront. They don't showcase that. They just want to throw this gender confusion nonsense in our face like it's some kind of a, human evolution, like as if we've reached some kind of evolved spiritual state by accepting this nonsense. No, it's lies. You know, it's lies. So we have to accept this. Doesn't fit into the mechanism of creation. And when you look at the works that we produce, even our own works, our own creations speak against this gender confusion idea, this idea of not respecting the feminine and masculine energy. So another hard truth here to accept is, for those of us who fall under the banner of homosexuality, of transgenderism, or whatever gender confusion, you know the fact is this: you are this way because of decisions that you've made and actions that you've taken over the course of many lives. This is why I explained reincarnation in the beginning, so you can understand this. We have been coming back and forth to this planet for many, 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 many years. So we have done so much. We have done so much. Our existence spans so many years. And this 20 to 50,000 years that I was talking about on average, that's just talking about the earth life. That's not even the ethereal life that we've lived and all the decisions that we've made over there. So, I mean, come on. Are you aware of your whole entire existence and all the decisions you've made? Because I guarantee you, if you're able to just sit back and look at the whole entire map of it, and you're able to see from beginning to now, and able to track every little decision along the way, you will be able to see where you started to go wrong, where you started to corrupt the feminine and masculine energy within yourself, where you started to make these decisions and take these actions that eventually led to the current manifestation of homosexuality or transgenderism or gender confusion, or whatever you want to call it. You will see that. But you have to know that this happened because of decisions you made. So this whole idea that is God's fault or God made some kind of mistake is total and complete bullshit. It's blasphemous. It's lies. The Creator does not play a hand in this. This is all you. This is all us. And we have to own that. We have to own that. Because if we don't own it, we're going to plunge deeper into darkness and ignorance and ruins. We have to own that. And it doesn't just apply to people who fall under this banner that I'm talking about. That's the whole entire humanity. All the bullshit that we're seeing in our lives are results of decisions. So even when you look at things like illness, we think things are just happening by accident. Oh, God just did this to me. Why is God doing this to me? And I used to pity people so much. For example, I used to see people who are permanently in wheelchairs, or who are even born this way. And I used to pity them so much. And I used to think it was so unfair. And I used to think that it was unfair for me to be able to walk and have all these advantages while they're stuck to this wheelchair. And it used to make me think that I need to give something up. But feelings like that are based on ignorance. You have to understand creation and the laws that govern creation. So when you see somebody in a wheelchair who's born that way, you have to understand that that's a result of decisions that they have made and actions that they have taken at some point in their life. It is not God who's doing these things to you. It is you. It is us who's doing these things. And we have to own that. but we don't want to own it. Oh, it's God's fault. God made a mistake. So now we have to correct God's mistakes. I mean, come on, are you serious? When are we going to step back and say, we're fucked up? And be honest about that. When are we going to step back and say, human beings, humanity, we're fucked up? Everything that we've done is wrong. When are we going to see that? Why do we keep thinking that this is God's doing? No, it's not. And because we don't want to accept that all of this is our doing, now you see this foolish, suicidal rebellion against the Creator. It makes no sense. And now we're trying to force our distortions, our illnesses into being, and trying to force it to be natural, when it's just not and never will be. We will not be able to defeat the laws of the Creator if we keep going this route. It is going to destroy us. God does not budge. And the nerve of you to even think or to ask the Creator to budge or to change for you, so that you don't have to change, so that you can remain imperfect. I mean, come on. Come on. We have to own this bullshit. We have to own it. Now let's talk about some of the spiritual benefits of, the transgender and homosexuality and things like, gender confusion, homosexuality and things like that. Because there are some spiritual benefits. See, a lot of people who fall under this banner of gender confusion and homosexuality, a lot of those people are souls who have been coming back and forth as different genders. In one life, in one incarnation, they may be a woman. In another incarnation, they're a man. So what happens is that these, a lot of these souls, not all of them, but a lot of them, maybe even most of them, because there's so many different contributing factors. And I'm just giving you, broad outlines in some of this. This is why you have to dive into the Grail message. This stuff goes so incredibly deep, man. But a lot of them are, for example, a lot of them are male souls in female bodies, and female souls in male bodies. A lot of these people who fall under this banner today on this earth, a lot of them are male souls in female bodies, in female physical bodies, and females in male physical bodies. So and as I mentioned, they've been flip-flopping. In one life as a man, one life as a woman. So what this means is that they've actually had the unique opportunity to experience life as both genders, as both sex. So this means it's a richer spiritual experience because you're getting both sides of things. So this can actually help the spirit evolve. This can actually help it can actually help a spiritual evolution. If the spirit, the human being involved, is honest with this experience and learns what they're supposed to learn from this experience, it can help the evolution of the spirit. It can lead to spiritual evolution, because once again, it provides the unique opportunity to live life, as both sex. So you learn more, you experience more. So that's some of the spiritual benefits of this. So Now, even though it provides that unique opportunity, you know, and provides that benefits, as long as the person concerned learns what they are supposed to learn from this experience. So even though it provides this opportunity, it's still not supposed to be a permanent state of being, because at the end of the day, it is still a spiritual distortion. So it's still not supposed to be a permanent state of being. So you can't say, oh, well, if it's beneficial, to be able to go back and forth like that through both sexes, then why should that have to change? Why can't it just remain like that? No, because it's a spiritual distortion at the end of the day. And once again, you have to go back and check out the gender confusion videos that I've done. I've done 3. And we went deep into this, and I can't go into all those things right now, but yeah, it is not supposed to be a permanent state of being, even though it does come with those unique benefits. What else? And it's a lot. It's a lot. I know it's a lot. Now let's talk about the problem with transgender. Because when we're talking about just homosexuality, if a person is, if a person is just that, and they're honest about it, and they're honest about the experience, like I said, they can, the soul, the spirit can learn a lot from this. But with transgender, when you throw in things like transgender, meaning that this person feels like they're in the wrong body, so now they must do something to change that. They must change this body, through however means they do it. That's when we start running into problems. That's a major problem. And this is why it is important to understand what we are. It's important, very important, to have this knowledge of creation, so we can know what the hell is going on here. Because this is what happens because human beings have a free will. This free will is a very powerful thing. And this free will manifests in many different ways. But when we make decisions, right? When we make a firm decision, we're literally putting something into creation. We're literally planting a seed into creation. So when it comes to gender confusion, and when it comes to the human body, what happens in these cases is this, that the human beings who fall under this umbrella, they have been corrupting their feminine and masculine energy for so long that they've been flip-flopping, as one time as a woman, as one time as a man, and so forth, and things like that. So what happens then is that you're born, you may be a male soul that is born into a female body, into this life, So then you get to a point where you feel like, oh, I'm in the wrong body, so now I want to change the body. You see, what happens is this, that, man, I'm trying to take my time and explain this right, because this is kind of, it's a little bit a maze here, But what happens is this: when you make the decision, because we have a free will, when the human soul starts to lean more towards the feminine way of thinking and the feminine way of doing things, right? That's a decision. right? And that decision, right, uh, causes changes. That decision causes changes to happen within the human soul, because the soul is malleable. The soul is not as firm and physical as the human body, as the earthly body. The soul is actually a lot more malleable, and it changes like that. So that the soul can literally change with a decision. So if a human soul is leaning more towards the feminine way of doing things, the feminine way of thinking, and it, for example, a person who's in the physical male body starts to lean more towards the feminine way of doing things. What happens is that the soul inside of this male body then changes to a female soul, because they now prefer the feminine way of being. So this the soul inside this male body now changes to a female soul. But the physical body, the earthly body, cannot change like that. The earthly body is not malleable like that. The earthly body is a one shot deal. What you get is what you get, until you gotta ride this motherfucker till the shit fall off. You gotta ride it till the wheels fall off. That's what you get with the earthly body. It's not malleable. The soul is malleable. So with the decision, the soul can change like that. But the earthly body cannot do that. So what's happening with these people who are trans is that they're gender confused. So you'll see some of them at one time want to be a male and another time want to be a female, right? And once again, the soul can change back and forth like that based on these decisions, but the physical body cannot. So then they become impatient and want the physical body to change right now to match what they feel on the inside, to match this change. So now they want to mutilate the physical body. And this is what happens. And remember, they're flip-flopping back and forth. So this is why with a lot of people who go through these surgeries and things like that, they end up regretting it and want to go back. So because it's this flip-flopping, is this lack of firmness in their feminine and masculine energy. And once again, you have to go back to watch my previous videos to get the full picture. So this is what's happening. They want the physical body to change right now, but it's not malleable as the soul is. So they have to seek various medical means, So that's why you hear all these lies coming from these so-called doctors and gender experts. I mean, come on, man. You don't have to be a doctor or an expert to see the foolishness of this. So this is what's happening. So they have to create this pseudoscience that makes absolutely no sense. They have to say stupid shit like gender is not real, gender is fluid, gender is just a decision, you can just change it like that. No, it's not. And the people who are in this state of being are spiritually distorted. They're in a state of gender confusion. But by no means are we supposed to be passing it off as some kind of a normal and healthy way of being. No, this is a deeply distorted thing that's going on here because of these human souls who have confused the feminine and masculine energy within themselves, and therefore have not made a firm decision to be feminine or masculine. But you have to. You can't be both, and you can't stand in the middle. You have to be on the negative pole or the positive pole. And this is how creation works. So, and another problem with this whole transgender idea is that, look, at the end of the day, even if you feel like you're in the wrong body or you don't like the body you're in, the fact that you're living on this planet, the fact that you have an opportunity to live on this planet and experience this life, the opportunity to learn and grow, it is still a gift. Even if you have corrupted it, even if you have messed it up, it is still a gift. So even if you feel like you're in the wrong body, you're supposed to allow yourself to experience this because you caused it to happen. You made that decision. So you're supposed to allow yourself to go through with the experience. You're supposed to allow yourself to experience this so that the experience can make an imprint on your soul. It's very important to allow the experience, even though it may be very bitter, because you have to remember all this stuff is really just temporary. But these temporary things decide our very fate, the very fate of our existence. So what has happened is that we have come here and we have allowed the temporary life to fuck up, our real life, the rest of our existence. But these things are temporary. So even if the experience is very bitter, very painful, you're still supposed to allow yourself to experience it and allow the experience to make an imprint on your soul. Because after all, you chose this. And that imprint that the experience is going to make on your soul is very important so that you can now be able to truly know and understand what you're dealing with, so you can truly know and understand what you want. So you can truly have a real preference and make a firm decision. So then you don't have to, be flip-flopping, and living in a state of gender confusion. Because one of the only reasons why you're in a state of gender confusion, I don't even know if that makes sense. One of the reasons why you're in a state of gender confusion is because you don't understand the feminine and masculine. You don't understand, your own self. And you have never made a firm decision. You're stuck in the middle somewhere. So it's very important to allow the experiences of this life, even though it may be bitter, to make that imprint on your soul, because only through that you will truly know and understand what you're dealing with, and then you will know, okay, I don't want that. I want this. This is what I want. This is what I am. And with that firm decision, you then stand in a place where you belong. But you keep denying yourself that experience by trying to mutilate this body, because you think God has made some kind of a mistake. So now you have to correct the mistake, not realizing that you're really just cheating yourself. While you're thinking you're correcting this mistake, you're just cheating yourself. And you're further allowing this temporary existence to fuck up the rest of your existence. We have to own this shit. We have to own it. We're not making nothing better by rebelling and trying to do shit against the laws of the Creator. We're just fucking shit up worse and worse and worse. And you see this. If people who fall under this umbrella, who go through with these surgeries, who mutilate their bodies, if they're honest, they will tell you the hell that they're going through when they do these things. is not going to lead. Violating the laws of the Creator is never going to lead to anything good. And the Creator is not going to budge. He's not going to change. These laws will not change. You cannot ask perfection to change, to come down, to adjust to stupidity, to imperfection. I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. You know? So if you really want to stop this flip-flopping, if you really want to stop this gender confusion, then you have to accept the decision you made and accept the experience. It's only temporary. And by accepting this experience, it will liberate you. It may be bitter at first, but eventually joy, peace, happiness, and freedom comes. But you have to be open and honest and allow yourself to be vulnerable. I mean, come on. That's just what it is. And once again, we have to understand that gender, the feminine and masculine, these are laws in creation. They're not just manifestations. They're not just, something that manifests in our genitals, in sexual and reproductive organs and so forth. No, these are laws. They go deeper than what we see. Much deeper. And by violating these laws, we are committing a heavy crime against creation. These are laws that we cannot change. So I'm sorry, anybody that comes on the scene with this bullshit science and telling you all this nonsense about gender, they're fucking lying. Point blank, period. You don't have to be no damn expert to see and grasp what creation plainly shows you, what creation plainly teaches you. So don't let these people lie to you. All this nonsense, all these bullshit titles about experts and doctors and scientists and all that nonsense. If we have learned anything from history, doctors, the experts and scientists, these are the people who have always plunged us into ruins and destruction. Look at the Nuremberg trial. Who was on trial? It was the doctors, the scientists, the politicians, the leaders. They were the ones on trial. You don't need these people to see what creation shows you. Stop letting these people lie to you. And we can't just sit here and accept this shit. Because it is a war being waged against our very existence. We're talking about the fate of our very existence here. It's not only even about this life. So again, if we're going to make any kind of, if we're going to be liberated from this hell that we have created for ourselves, this Luciferian hell that we have created for ourselves, if we're going to be liberated from this shit, we have to be open and honest and allow ourselves to be vulnerable and accept the truth and own up to this shit. And stop trying to fight God. And stop trying to deny the Creator. You cannot spiritually ascend in the state of gender confusion. You can't. I'm sorry, you just can't. You cannot spiritually ascend in the state of the corruption of the masculine and feminine energy. You just can't. So, once again, man, I'm just trying to shed some honest light on this, and this is not coming from a place of animosity. What I'm if there's if there's any animosity here, it's coming from the lies that we're being forced to believe. I mean, it's one thing if we can just be honest about this, and if we can just be honest about it and accept it for what it is, then we will grow. We will gain what we need to gain. But we can't even gain. You see, the thing about it, the tragedy about this is we can't gain from our pain what we need to gain from it. We can't gain from our stupidity what we need to gain from it. Even that is being denied to us, because we don't want to just honestly accept things for what they are. You know? And I hope that's making sense to you. That whole gaining from our ignorance and gaining from our stupidity, or gaining from our mistakes. We're being denied that. We can't even gain from our mistakes because we're not being honest about what we're dealing with. We're being forced to accept lies. And this shit is frustrating, man. Let's just accept it for what it is. Don't mean you're against, gay or trans people. Don't mean you hate them. Don't mean you want to destroy them. No. I mean, where are we getting to if we can't even, have open and honest conversations, man? But once again, that's a sign of the darkness. Because as I mentioned, the darkness cannot operate out in the open. The darkness has to hide itself. Because the darkness knows that it's all full of lies. And if it reveals itself openly, plainly, and honestly, people will see the lies. The human spirit is intelligent, is brilliant. It will recognize the lies if the darkness operates out in the open. And it will not go with this shit. Because you see, the only thing that we need to do is just not comply with the lies. Which is why they have to force these lies into being. Because that's all we have to do is not comply. So they have to create laws and policies to force these lies into being, so then when we don't comply, they can punish us. And that's bullshit. That's not right. That's why we can't just sit here and accept this nonsense. You know what I mean? But first, we have to understand spiritual law. We have to understand creation and what we're dealing with here. You know what I mean? So this is some real talk. And it's not designed to hurt anybody's feelings. But this is some real talk. You know what I mean? So with that being said, man, I'm going to go ahead and stop this video because it's long, once again, but necessarily so. So, peace and power to the true and living. This is CBornNacirfaSun. And I am you. Regardless of what side of the spectrum you fall on. I am you. Whether you're Democrat, Republican, conservative, liberal, gay, trans, bi, whatever. If you're a human being, I am you. You know what I mean? Peace and power to the true and living. CBornNacirfaSun. And I am you. Didn't I say that already? I think I did. It just lets you know it's time for me to stop this video.
If it ain't love, it ain't nothing. Yeah. If it ain't love, it ain't nothing.